interacts with the coastline could be quite higher than what's shown on the scale down here. So the other piece of information is time. These are contour lines across the map in hours. So it looks like the first hour is here, it's hidden in here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7.5 hours for the first wave to reach Hawaii. It's important to remember tsunamis are a series of waves, not just a single wave. And what the wave heights represent here is not necessarily the first wave. This is the highest wave that's predicted by the model. So the second or third wave may in fact be the highest wave, and they come about 20 to 30 minutes apart.
So obviously there are levels of things that you're looking at here to monitor what potentially could be happening.
That's an interesting model. Yeah. I've never seen that after the Chile. Right, and one of the things I was going to point out with that model, if you looked, it wasn't just a straight line as far as, if you're 500 miles from the shore, it depends on the topography, and it depends on the direction as far as exactly where you are in relation to where that tsunami wave is coming from. So that's one of the things we talk about. The tsunami waves themselves, they're very local waves, and so they're able to wrap around locations. So topography on the shoreline plays a big impact on how these waves interact with our Hawaii, and we will be impacted by it. And so that's why also for those folks that say are on the southeastern sides of the islands, they could be impacted by this as well, even though the waves coming from the west and northwest. We have more from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. We did hear about their modeling information. We want to recap the latest information that we have from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. So we're going to go ahead and replay an interview with Chip McCreary, who we talked with earlier this evening.
This update, we really don't have too much new to report in terms of what we're expecting for Hawaii. It's still expecting at around 3 a.m. the first impacts to be. They will be coming into Kauai around that time. It really only takes about 20-30 minutes for the waves to cross the entire state. But these are very long period waves. One wave can take 20 or 30 minutes for one cycle, from the high part of the wave to the low part of the wave. So, and there can be many waves, not just one wave. So we'll just have to see when the situation happens what the impacts are here and how long the hazard will last. But
and right about now, you're starting to get in an important indicator that you'll be able to process some of the information coming from Wake Island. Is that correct?
That's correct. So Wake Island will be one of the places where we can look and see how big it is there and compare that to what our models have been forecasting. That gives us an indication of how accurate.
Talking about the potential wave height.
Well, right now our models are showing around 2 meters above normal sea level, which is around 6 feet in Haleiwa and Hilo, and slightly less than that at Kahului and other places around the Hawaiian Islands. But the maximum right now from our forecast is around 2 meters or 6 feet above normal sea level. Just need to caution, though, that these are models we have models for just 6 small sections of coast around the Hawaiian Islands, and there can be a lot of variability in how large the waves are in particular places, and it depends on a lot of factors: the period of wave, the direction it's coming, how many waves there are, and so what we see in our models is kind of a proxy for what's really going to happen, and there can be variability in that.
Last question.
That's Chip McCreary from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, and as Alara had asked him, that first indicator is Wake Island, and that should be probably in the next 15 or 20 minutes. They'll get an indication of what size waves are reaching Wake Island. Now the buoys, hitting the actual area is important, but the buoys are important as well. Well, they have actual tsunami buoys that are basically pressure plates that are on the bottom of the ocean floor, and what happens is, as those waves move across the Pacific and move over those plates, it's a pressure change, and so they're able to tell how much of a pressure change, how much water, how much energy is moving across the Pacific. And there's a line, or a ring, I should say, around the Pacific of these dart buoys, or what they're called, and they monitor exactly this. And so we're getting readings from those as well in some of the areas closer to Japan. A 2-foot difference in sea level was what some of the buoys were recording. And of course there are a number of those mainly around coastal areas as it gets closer to coastal areas, but there is also one near the Hawaiian Islands. So we're getting readings from those as well. But what the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center and everyone is watching and waiting for are those waves to actually arrive in particular areas. So that way we get a better idea of how big those waves are, how far away those places are from Japan, and the distance to us. We can extrapolate how big of a wave we can expect and when exactly we can expect it as well.
Well, the evacuation has already begun across the state for those who are in the inundation zones. Only those who are in the inundation zones need to leave. And I think we have some video to share of some of that going on tonight.
Right, over on the windward side of Oahu. This is footage from Kailua. Fire crews just heading down the streets in the inundation zones with their sirens on, lights on, alerting people that there is an emergency. There is a tsunami warning in effect for the islands, and so for those folks in the inundation zone to move out of the inundation zone. For some people, it may be just a block or two as long as you're out of that inundation zone. Again, it's not expected to be a very big tsunami. They're only expecting 6-foot waves for the Hawaiian Islands if we get those size waves. Could cause some damage for coastal areas, but again, for those in the inundation zone, just being out of the inundation zone, you'll be safe.
Right now we're going to hear from the CEO of the Naniloa Hotel, Ken Fujiyama.
Of course, they're preparing there as well. Nope, okay, I understand. We're not finished with that. We're ready for that. I don't know if you've tried to call out to anybody here on the islands here, or neighbor islands, or even trying to reach somebody in Japan or on the West Coast. Japan, all the phone lines are down, but there's also a lot of phone problems just here alone. So here's some of the tips that we've gotten from the phone company and from the cellular companies. Texting is the best bet right now. Texting or push-to-talk walkie-talkies. If you have a car charger and you're in a car, keep the phone on the car charger, or if you're at home, keep it on charge, because you want that cell phone to be available when you do need it, and if you can, get a signal out. Also, to use your smartphone internet access to connect to the internet. And also from Mayor Peter Carlisle, the city and county of Honolulu is asking residents to conserve water. They want to use the water for maintaining emergency services and for the Honolulu Fire Department if in fact something were needed to be done. Limit your calls to only 911. So if it's not an emergency for you, stay off the phone. They're also asking you not to fill up your car with gasoline right now, because the long lines are creating congestions that could actually hinder emergency vehicles that need to get somewhere. And above all, they're asking you to follow the direction of first responders, like we saw the fire department going through Kailua and those areas. If they tell you to move, move. If they tell you to stay, please listen to the first responders.
And I think people hear those sirens, and I think the first gut reaction is, I've got to do something. But what people don't realize is that if they're not in the inundation zone, you don't have to do anything. Just stay at home. That's the best thing that you can do, because if you're going out on the roads and getting in these lines and causing problems with gas lines, everybody trying to fill up at the same time, for those people that are in the inundation zone, they may not be able to get out as quickly as they would like to, or get to where they need to go. So again, just stay at home if you don't need to go anywhere.
Well, if you're just tuning in, maybe you just woke up from a nap, you probably just heard those sirens just a few moments ago. There was an 8.9 magnitude earthquake that struck northern Japan just about 7:45, 7:50 this evening. It has triggered a Pacific-wide tsunami. We are in a tsunami warning right here in Hawaii. The first wave, if it does indeed reach Hawaii, is expected to reach here sometime around 3:05 to 3:20 in the morning in the Hawaiian Islands. Now, waves as high as 30 feet have been registered off the coast of Japan, and we've been sharing with you video throughout the night of the damage, not only from the earthquake itself, but also from the numerous waves that have been going through Japan. Right now in Japan, we're told there is at least 17 dead. We now understand that there is a nuclear power plant that is on fire in Japan. We saw numerous fires there. So there is a lot of damage from that 8.9 quake and the subsequent tsunami.
You were mentioning people maybe just wondering what the sirens are all about, and we're going to hear those sirens throughout the night. They'll be alerting us and continuing to alert us as the tsunami waves get closer to our islands, just to make sure that everyone knows we are under a tsunami warning and the tsunami is on its way. The question is just how big that wave will be. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center says it won't be bigger than 6 feet, but for some coastal areas that could still cause some damage. For those that aren't in the coastal areas, you're safe.
They're going to be taking a look really closely in the next 10 to 20 minutes at Wake Island. That's where the next wave, where the waves are expected next to reach. After that, they have Guam and Midway. So they're going to be taking a look at how high the waves are as they reach those areas, and they'll be able to extrapolate a little bit better about how high our waves will be here in the islands.
Yeah, the waves move very fast across the Pacific, even though, like you mentioned, the earthquake and subsequent tsunami happened about 7:45 this evening. By 3 this morning, those waves will be here reaching our islands, and they will move across the entire Pacific. These waves move very quickly, and that energy is carried across the Pacific as well. We want to go ahead and turn things, well, actually, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about what we've seen here, because we are waiting to hear back